It's easy enough to say I'm going to start learning this language, but I know from experience it's a lot of work. Hi there, Steve Kaufman here. Today I want to sort of ask myself a question. Why do you want to learn another language? But first, before I get into the subject, if you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, click on the bell for notifications, and if you follow me on a podcast service, please leave a review. So why has this subject suddenly come to my mind? Well, a large part of my inspiration for learning languages comes from different series that my wife watches on Netflix. And I kind of go in and out of the TV room and sometimes sit down and watch. And she was watching an Indian movie, Gangubai or something. And of course, it's in Bombay. It's 100 years ago or whenever, 80 years ago, and it's very exotic and all of these things that sort of, and of course, I pick out the odd word in Hindi that sounds a bit like Persian, the odd one. And it then becomes very tempting to say, you know what, I should learn Hindi or Punjabi or one of those Indian languages. And so then I say to myself, well, here you are, you've been struggling with Persian and Arabic, and of course neglecting other languages that you've learned. Why would you take on yet another language? And this is an interesting question. Obviously, the more languages you have, or the more languages you try to learn, the less well you're going to speak in languages that you have already spent time trying to learn. I sometimes say to myself, why did you ever bother trying to learn Persian and Arabic when, maybe you should focus on Korean, which is not at a level that you would like. And the simple answer is that I'm always curious. As imperfect as my Arabic and Persian are, and I will perhaps do maybe a conversation with my tutor again in those languages, and you'll see that it's full of holes. And yet, it's at a level where I enjoy them. I enjoy listening to my, Radio Fardo podcast news in Farsi. I understand a fair amount of it. I enjoy, for example, my Jordanian cartoon series. So I'm enjoying participating to some extent in that language, in that culture, however imperfectly. So whatever I put in, I feel I get back. Now, how exciting would it be to have some sense of how some Indian language works? Probably Hindi, because it's the most widely spoken. And of course, the Bollywood movies are in Hindi. But here in Vancouver, most of the people from India are, in fact, from the Punjab. So they speak Punjabi. Probably, I have no idea how mutually intelligible those languages are, but it would be fun to do them. And so it becomes fun. It's a challenge. Like part of learning other languages simply because the language is there. So it's like, why do you climb a mountain? Because the mountain is there. I look back to when I wrote my book, The Linguist on Language. I guess I was 57 or so, and I had 9 languages, and I had enjoyed every one of those 9 languages. Well, now I'm approaching my 20th language, mostly since the age of 60, and it's brought me so much. And I can think of the Egyptian movies that I watched, trying very hard to understand something, not understanding too much, but because of my exposure to that language and the few things that I do understand, I'm more involved. I can feel and smell and touch the culture more. Similarly with Persian, where Sahra in Iran has sent me some Iranian movies. And I'm confident, maybe more confident in Persian than in Arabic, that I'll eventually be able to understand those movies quite well. So it brings me all of that. And I think I've made the point in a number of my other videos that whatever I achieve is good. It's all a plus. There is no negative. Perhaps the only negative is that I haven't spent that time working on some of my other languages. But I can go back to them. Whatever I put into them is there. I'm not going to lose it. It might take me a little while to refresh them. So I don't know. Why learn another language? I guess the question can be asked of someone like me who has tried to learn, say, 20 languages and who might look at trying to learn about yet another language, or two or three, or someone who is still struggling with their first foreign language. And of course, for many people, it's not a hobby. For many people, there's a practical need. They might be an immigrant or a refugee in a country, in Germany or in North America or somewhere. They have to learn the local language. Or if you're living somewhere where you do business with people from another country and you need that language, then of course there's a greater sort of need for the language. But I'm not in that situation. I'm in the situation where I learn languages for pleasure. And why would I take on yet another language with all of... And of course, it's easy enough to say I'm going to start learning this language, but I know from experience it's a lot of work. So once I commit myself to sort of spending time with that language, it's going to be another sort of time sump. But it's an enjoyable pursuit for me. And not only is the actual study of the language enjoyable, but everything that comes with it, the discovery of the culture, getting closer to those people, seeing those people less sort of in a caricature form or stereotype form, but rather seeing them as they are and hearing how they speak and how they express themselves. So that's why I continue to add languages. Although I don't achieve a high level of fluency, I do achieve a very worthwhile level of familiarity with those languages. And that's why I would continue learning languages. And I would like to suggest you have a look at two videos that I did on the subject. One was 6 months ago where I talk about learning two languages at once. And another one 3 months ago where I talk about learning multiple languages at the same time. And that might give you a little different perspective on the issue of taking on different languages or continuing to challenge yourself with more languages when you already know some. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in this situation, so I look forward to hearing from you. Bye for now.